If you have a water heater sitting in your basement, your garage, or a closet somewhere, go find it and look at the top of the tank. Up there, or sometimes off to the side, you will see a small brass valve with a little metal lever you can flip up with one finger. A lot of folks have owned that tank for 10, 15 years and have never once touched that lever. So here's the part nobody bothers to tell you. That one cheap brass valve is the only thing standing between a normal Tuesday and a 50-gallon tank that can punch a hole clean through your roof. I am Mark Silverbridge. I have been a master plumber for 35 years, and today I'm going to walk you through a 10-minute test that tells you whether that valve still does its job. No plumber, no quote, no cost. Let me tell you what that valve actually is, because in 35 years of walking homeowners through their basements, I have found that almost nobody has ever had it explained to them in plain English. The proper name is the temperature and pressure relief valve. Plumbers just call it the T&P valve. It is that brass fitting with the flip lever, screwed into the top or the upper side of every tank-type water heater in the country. And its whole job in life is to sit there and do nothing, right up until the day it has to save you. Here is how it works. Your water heater is basically a big insulated thermos that keeps reheating itself. A thermostat inside tells the burner or the heating element when to kick on and when to shut off. On a good day, that thermostat holds the water somewhere around 120 to 140 degrees, and the whole thing hums along quietly for years. But thermostats fail. I have pulled units where the thermostat stuck in the on position and just kept heating and heating and heating, with nothing telling it to stop. When that happens, the water inside climbs way past normal, and water does something strange under pressure. Inside a sealed tank, you can push water well past its normal boiling point without it turning to steam. It just sits there, superheated, holding all that energy, waiting. That is where the T&P valve earns its keep. It is set to open the moment the pressure hits 150 psi, or the temperature hits 210 degrees, whichever comes first. When it opens, it dumps that scalding water and pressure out a pipe and buys the tank time to calm down. That is the entire point of it. Now what happens if that valve is seized shut and the tank keeps heating with nowhere to vent? The pressure keeps climbing until the steel tank itself lets go. And the second that tank splits open, all that superheated water is suddenly exposed to normal room pressure, and it flashes into steam in an instant. Water turns into steam and expands to over 1,000 times its volume all at once. That is not a leak. That is an explosion. I am not exaggerating for views here. There is a famous safety test where engineers rigged a standard tank water heater to keep heating with the relief valve disabled. That tank launched straight up through the roof of the test house and went several hundred feet into the air like a rocket. A regular household water heater, the same kind sitting in your house right now. That is the physics we are talking about. And the only thing standing between that and a quiet afternoon is one brass valve doing its job. So that is the mechanism. A stuck thermostat is the fuse, and the T&P valve is the thing that keeps the fuse from ever mattering. The problem is that this valve can quietly seize up over the years from mineral buildup and corrosion, and you would never know. It gives you no warning. It just stops working silently, and you go right on using the tank with no safety net underneath you, which is exactly why you test it. And I want you to understand how common this really is, because I know it sounds like a scare story. It is not. After hundreds of water heater jobs, I can tell you that a stuck relief valve is one of the most ordinary things I run into, especially on tanks that are 10 years old and up. The harder your water is, the faster it happens. Every time that valve sits there unused, minerals in the water settle onto the little seat inside it and slowly cement it in place, like rust freezing a bolt you have not turned in a decade. The valve is not broken in any dramatic way. It just quietly stops being able to move. And a relief valve that cannot move is a relief valve that cannot save you. I have pulled units that were 18, 19 years old where the tank was still heating water fine, but that valve had been seized solid for who knows how long. Those homeowners had been living on borrowed time and had no idea. Quick word before I show you the test. If this kind of straight talk helps you out, I put together a book called 50 Easy Plumbing Fixes that will save you $10,000. It walks you through 50 repairs you can knock out on a Saturday with basic hand tools, and it shows you exactly when a contractor is padding a quote. The link is right down in the description. All right, back to that valve. Here is the 10-minute test, and anybody can do this. First, find the discharge pipe. That is the pipe attached to the T and P valve that runs down toward the floor. Grab a bucket or an old towel and set it right under the open end of that pipe, because whatever comes out is going to be scalding hot. I want to be very clear about that. The water that comes out of this valve can burn you badly, so keep your hands and your face well clear of the discharge pipe. Now reach up and gently lift that little metal lever on the valve, hold it open for a couple of seconds, and then let it snap back down. What you want to hear and see is a strong, healthy gush of water rushing out that discharge pipe while the lever is up, and then a clean, complete stop the second you let the lever go. That is a valve doing exactly what it should. Strong flow when open, clean shut-off when closed. If that is what you get, you are done. Write down the date somewhere so you remember when you last checked it and go enjoy your day. But you might get one or two bad results, and you need to know what each one means. The first bad result is no flow at all. You lift the lever and nothing comes out, or you get a weak little dribble that does not match the pressure in that tank. That tells you the valve is seized or the discharge line is blocked with mineral scale. A valve that will not open is worse than no valve at all, because it is giving you a false sense of safety while protecting nothing. Think of it like a smoke detector with the battery pulled out. It looks like protection sitting up there on the wall, but the day you actually need it, there is nothing behind it. That valve gets replaced, and not next month, right away. The second bad result is a valve that opens fine, but then will not stop dripping after you release the lever. It keeps weeping water out the discharge pipe and will not seal back up. Sometimes a bit of grit got caught under the seat, and snapping the lever open and shut one more time flushes it out and the drip stops. Give that one shot. But if it keeps dripping after that, the valve is not reseating properly, and a valve that cannot seal is a valve on its way out. Replace it. Now, before you go blaming the valve for that drip, let me tell you about the trade-off nobody mentions, because this one has sent a lot of good valves to the trash for no reason. A T and P valve that weeps a little every so often is not always a bad valve. A lot of the time it is doing its job in response to a completely different problem called thermal expansion. Here's what that means in plain English. When water heats up, it expands and takes up more room. In an older open plumbing system, that extra volume just pushes back out into the city water main, and no harm done. But a lot of newer homes have what is called a closed system, usually because of a check valve or a pressure-reducing valve on the incoming line. In a closed system, that expanding hot water has nowhere to go. So the pressure inside the tank spikes every single time the burner fires, and the relief valve pops open a little to let some off. People see that drip, blame the valve, replace it, and the new one starts dripping too, because the valve was never the problem. The real fix for that is a small pressure tank called a thermal expansion tank, plumbed in near the water heater. It gives that expanding water a cushion of air to push into, so the pressure never spikes, and the relief valve can go back to only opening in a true emergency. If your relief valve drips a little right after the tank finishes heating and your home has a pressure-reducing valve on the main line, an expansion tank is very likely what you actually need. A plumber usually installs one for somewhere around $150 to $300. So before you condemn a valve for weeping, ask whether the valve is the patient or just the messenger. Here is the good news on cost, and this is where a lot of folks get surprised. The valve itself is a $15 to $25 part at any hardware store. That is it. If you are handy and comfortable, it is a straightforward swap. If you would rather have a plumber do it, a valve replacement usually runs somewhere between $150 and $300 depending on where you live and how the tank is set up. Either way, this is not a budget breaker, and you should be running the simple lever test every 6 to 12 months. Twice a year when you change your smoke detector batteries is an easy way to remember. Now let me get into the part that even a lot of handy homeowners get wrong, because this is where a safe fix turns into a dangerous one if you are not careful. If your test came back bad and you are going to replace that valve yourself, the power comes off first, every single time. On an electric water heater, you shut off the breaker that feeds it. On a gas unit, you turn the gas control to the off or pilot position. Then you shut off the cold water supply to the tank and drain some water out to drop the pressure before you ever put a wrench on that valve. Working on a pressurized, energized, scalding hot tank is how people end up in the emergency room. Power off, water off, pressure down, then you work. And here is the detail that almost nobody checks, the one that quietly turns your safety device into the bomb we have been talking about. It is not the valve itself. It is the discharge pipe running off of it. That pipe has rules, and they exist for a reason. It has to run downward and end within about 6 inches of the floor. It cannot have a cap on the end. It cannot shrink down to a smaller diameter partway along. And it cannot have a shutoff valve anywhere on it. Every one of those rules exists for a reason. It runs down to the floor so that if the valve ever dumps scalding water, it hits the ground and not somebody standing next to the tank. It ends near the floor and not right at it, so you can actually see it dripping and get a warning. It stays full-sized the whole way, because if you neck it down to a smaller pipe, you choke the flow right when the tank needs to dump the most pressure the fastest. And it has no shutoff on it for the obvious reason that a shutoff on a safety line is just a slower way of capping it. Think about why. If that valve ever needs to open and dump pressure, but somebody capped the end of the discharge pipe, then the pressure has absolutely nowhere to go. You have taken the one part designed to save the tank and sealed it shut. At that point, the relief valve is decorative. It cannot relieve anything. And I am not describing some rare freak scenario here. Home inspectors find capped and plugged relief lines all the time, usually because somebody was annoyed by a little drip and figured they would just cap it off to stop the mess. That cap converts your safety valve into the exact failure it was installed to prevent. So when you check the valve, follow that discharge pipe all the way down with your eyes. Open end, pointing down, near the floor. No cap, no reducer, no extra valve. If it is capped, that comes off today. So let me give you a simple way to decide what to do with all of this. If you lift the lever and get a strong gush and a clean stop, you are in good shape. Log the date and retest in 6 months. If you get no flow or a drip that will not quit after one more snap of the lever, that valve needs replacing, and the only real question is whether you do it or a plumber does it. If you are comfortable shutting off power, gas, and water, and you have replaced a fitting before, this is a very doable Saturday job for a $15 part. If any of that makes you nervous, there is no shame in it. Pay the $100 and change for a plumber and know it was done right. What you do not do is nothing. A tank with a dead relief valve is the one job on this whole channel. I will tell you flat out, cannot wait. Now, since you are already standing at the tank with a bucket in your hand, let me give you a bonus tip that takes 2 more minutes and saves you real grief down the road. While you are down there, run your hand and your eyes over every fitting on top of the tank. The water connections, the valve threads, all of it. Oh, what you are looking for is rust, white crusty mineral deposits, or any sign of weeping. A little surface rust caught early is a cheap conversation. That same spot ignored for 2 years becomes a leak that ruins a floor. And while you are at it, if your tank has an accessible thermostat dial, set it to 120 degrees. 120 is hot enough for everything you actually do in a house. It cuts your standby heat loss so the tank is not burning money, reheating water nobody is using, and it dramatically lowers your risk of a scald burn at the tap. Lower temperature, lower bills, lower risk. That is a rare 3-way win in this trade. One last thing before you go. That same book, 50 Easy Plumbing Fixes That Will Save You $10,000, is full of small jobs like this one that protect your house and your wallet year after year instead of costing you thousands later. The link is in the description. And if you want more plain, honest plumbing with no upsell, subscribe to the Mark Silverbridge channel, where the fixes keep your money in your pocket.